Before the endgame, before Infinity War, there was Civil War. Today, on the Yada Yada podcast, we are resurrecting a nearly decade-old pop culture comic book movie debate. Are you Team Iron Man or Team Captain America? I could do this all day. We're back. This is Yada Yada episode 12.
What is that? Aaron Rodgers? He's 12, isn't he? Tom Brady? Yeah, I guess he's a little 12 too.
Here we go. Dozen.
Yeah,
we've made it.
Dozen. We got a dozen episodes out now. We just continue to pop them out one by one. We'd never run out of topics because there's so much stuff to talk about in this world.
And when you don't have anything to talk about, you can always just talk about stuff that's 10 years old, you know?
Exactly. That's the beauty of yada yada. That's the beauty of being able to talk about whatever you want. The sports world is pretty boring right now, so it's hard to have a sports podcast in this season. You got baseball, which it's about to be the All-Star break for baseball, so that's even kind of the boring part of baseball too. It's not even the playoffs. I saw they were doing on SportsCenter like the best moments from each state or something like that in sports history. And one day I turned on SportsCenter and they were on like Rhode Island or something. They're trying to find the best stuff from Rhode Island. It's like Providence University highlights. Like, what are we doing?
Scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, they can only have so many hot takes when there's nothing going on in the sports world.
Yeah.
So, well, I'd like to address the elephant in the room, in my opinion, how loud my breathing was last episode. For those of you that are on Apple, I commented on the Spotify episode, made my commenting debut, and I apologize for that because it was really annoying. I almost stopped listening to the entire episode because all you could hear was... and I would just smack every once in a while, and I guess I had some allergies at the time too because I was sniffing quite a bit, and as my dad likes to tell me, that's pretty annoying. So I apologize for that. That's something I'll get better at. That's our where we went wrong for last episode, was my mic sensitivity was much too high.
You know, we're only a dozen episodes in, and you've had that mic for less than a dozen episodes. So
exactly.
It's just some expected growing pains. You know,
Yep.
The audience will bear with us. I think they're understanding.
Still learning. Still don't have a producer, so nobody to tell me turn your mic down because you're breathing heavy.
Right.
So not our fault.
Although I did get a text from my lovely wife who tuned into the last episode. And she said, I can hear his water pass through his esophagus. So that was pretty good.
Shout out to Blue Yeti microphones because you guys got some sensitivity going on. That's what I'm talking about. Money well spent. But definitely. I am hoping to fix it. So sorry if it bugged you because it definitely bugged me. Something else from last episode, we got a couple of comments. The best, worst, try to think right now off the top of your head. What's the best and what's the worst rendition of the national anthem ever? Go.
Ooh, the best has got to be Jimi Hendrix guitar. The worst has got to be Fergie.
That's exactly what Bradley put as his comment.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Best, worst renditions of national anthem would be a fun addition to this one. Examples. Bad, Fergie at the 2018 NBA All-Star Game. Good, Jimi Hendrix at Woodstock.
There we go, baby.
So there you go. You and Bradley.
Great.
Right on the
great
same
minds.
there. Yeah. Bo also mentioned that Chris Stapleton's Chris Stapleton's at Super Bowl 57 was one of the best as well. And then he also asked the question, where do you think the best place to celebrate 4th of July would be in the United States? And I was kind of thinking on that, but I think I'd rather be in a small town than like New York or I don't know where else. Nashville might be a cool place, but like I think I'd rather be in a small town, little fireworks show, some volunteer fire department cooking some hot dogs and everybody coming together, and that kind of stuff is kind of what I think of when I think of 4th of July. So
I think I'm with you on that. I think yeah. If it looks anything like the 4th of July in Sandlot, I think I'm happy. Yeah,
that's what I imagine when I think of the best place to be. And then last thing, and then we'll get going. Bradley also mentioned when we talked about most I'm proud to be American moments. One of his is when George Washington stepped down after his second term as the president of the United States. He believes that kind of set the standard for how the nation should be ran, and we still follow that to this day. A president can't run or can't be in office more than 2 times, and that goes all the way back to the very first president. He said, "Nope, I'm done after 2," and the rest is history. So shout out to George Washington. Appreciate you, man.
Number 1.
He was number 1. All right, well, that kind of leads us into our episode 12. Our topic today, we're going back 10 years, like you said. We're talking strictly movies today. Books has got 2 summer movies, soon to be determined if they're summer blockbusters like Jaws. But summer movies that he has gone and seen. He just got back from one of them, and he's taking time out of his day and his night to give you wonderful listeners a review of both of those movies. So he's going to talk about F1, the new Brad Pitt movie, and then he's going to talk about Superman, the new Superman movie. And then we're going to jump right into the Avengers. So lead us off with a little reviews for some future summer blockbusters, maybe.
All right, cool. So I literally just got home from the theater after watching Superman. And so I don't have any notes typed. This is just kind of my fresh out of the theater reaction. And I will tell you that I walked out of the theater with a big smile on my face. This is one of the most unapologetic comic book movies that I've ever seen. Maybe the most. And what I mean by that is it's not embarrassed that its roots come from comic books. It leans heavily into that. It's almost like an episode. I don't know if you ever. Well, you did. The Justice League cartoons that were coming out when we were growing up. This movie is like one of those episodes brought to life and then stretched over a 2-hour runtime. And that 2-hour runtime, I think it's over 2 hours. It flies by. I thought the movie was like 90 minutes long. I mean, the pacing is breakneck. You kind of jump on the ride. You get thrown in right into the middle of the action, right in the beginning of the movie, and it doesn't slow down at all really until the very end. And so the casting. I mean, I love James Gunn. For all you Guardians of the Galaxy fans out there, that's who directed Guardians of the Galaxy. Y'all all know that. And I trust James Gunn when he has a comic book property in his hands. I trust James Gunn to cast the best actors for the role, and he definitely did that with Superman. David Cornsweet is maybe my I love Christopher Reeve, excuse me. He's probably still, like, when I think of Superman, that's probably still the first person I think of is Christopher Reeve. And I was a big fan of Henry Cavill as well. But I think David Cornsweet is the perfect person to kind of usher in this next era of DC movies, kick off this new franchise of the DCU. And I think he's going to be people's, I think he might be like kids today. He might be their Tobey Maguire. that Spider, you know what I mean? That Spider-Man, what Toby is to me, David Corenswet might end up being that to these kids that are going to watch this movie and think, wow, that's Superman. I mean, he just embodies everything about the character. This movie's so hopeful. It's so much fun. Mr. Terrific is a character in the movie. He steals every scene he's in. Guy Gardner, the Green Lantern in this movie, is hilarious. I love Nathan Fillion. Anyway, go see the movie. I absolutely loved it. I will say it took me about 20 minutes to get on this movie's wavelength, just because it felt so much different than any other superhero movie I'd watched before. It felt like a comic book kind of come to life. And so with that, because there are expectations that I go into with comic book movies, because I grew up on the MCU and the Tobey Maguire movies and all that stuff. And so it took me a second to get on the wavelength. Once I did, it was a heck of a ride. So go see Superman. Let me know what you think. Definitely let me know what you think in the comments. I had a blast with the movie. I can't wait to see it again. I think it's going to play even better on a second watch. My only complaint is that it wasn't long enough, literally. So I had a good time. Are you excited to see Superman?
Yeah, I'm. These two movies are actually on my list. I'm not usually I say I'm not usually a movie guy, but I do enjoy going to the movie theater every once in a while. A movie theater for me can get really annoying really quick when a family of 6 walks in and every single one of them has a candy of some kind in a wrapper of some kind, and they like to just crinkle it the entire movie. It kind of ruins it. But I do want to see both of these movies. I'm a huge Brad Pitt fan. I actually just showed Lacey, my wife, Inglourious Bastards for the first time the other day.
Nice.
Because Brad Pitt's hilarious in that movie. And I like to watch him do his thing. So I'm looking forward to F1. I'd have no idea who David Corenswet is. And so I think this might be maybe a breakthrough movie for him. For casuals like myself, this might lead him into the stardom world.
I had no idea who he was until he was cast as Superman, and then I kind of checked up on his career before that. But he's definitely an unknown. Yep.
Yeah. So you mentioned Mr. Terrific and Green Lantern making an appearance in this movie.
They sure do, yeah, and they're in the trailers. So if you've seen the trailers, then you kind of know that. I don't want to spoil anything that's not already in the trailers, but they do. And let me tell you, Mr. Terrific, his tech, the design, his tech, because he's like supposed to be one of the smartest guys in like the DC world, basically the DC universe. And his tech is so cool, the way he fights people and flies around. He has maybe my favorite fight scene of the whole movie, which is kind of crazy to say in a Superman movie, but he has probably my favorite fight scene in the movie, and it's so cool. So yeah, Mr. Terrific, and then Green Lantern is a goofball in this movie, but he's very entertaining. It's played by Nathan Fillion. And if y'all have ever seen the old TV show Firefly, he's in a bunch of stuff. He's hilarious. He's absolutely hilarious. He's not playing Hal Jordan or John Stewart. He's playing Guy Gardner is his lantern. There's going to be multiple lanterns in this universe. It looks like I said, they're leaning heavy into the comic book origins. And so, and I'm not someone that has read a ton of comic books. I mean, I've done my fair share of YouTube research, that kind of stuff. You know what I mean, just for funsies. But I haven't read a whole lot, and so this kind of made me wanna check out some comic books and explore a different side of superheroes for a change. And I'm glad that they're embracing that side of stuff. But yeah, it was a great movie. I had a lot of fun. Very hopeful. It's the kind of Superman that we need right now, I think. Just extremely hopeful. You know what I mean? So I had a great time with it.
I think the Superman movies, I don't think they're very good. And so I hope this one, well, it sounds like you're saying it is, but the ones that I've seen, the Man of Steel, Batman versus Superman, like, the most recent Supermans, like, Superman is the superhero, you know, like he's been around for forever. He's you want to be Superman. Like when you're a little kid growing up, superhero is Superman. They're synonymous to each other. And so for like The Dark Knight and for other movies like Avengers, those movies are better superhero movies than Superman. So I'm hoping this one's living up to the expectation, because we do need a good Superman movie, because I don't really think there's one out there in my opinion. But
That's fair. I mean the 78 kind of Superman 78. You know, that when people that were around when that movie came out seem to still love it very much. I've seen it before. I love Christopher Reeve in that role, but you know, I don't have any nostalgia for that movie, so it doesn't grab my heartstrings like it does those people that it convinced a man could fly back in 78. And also Henry Cavill and, you know, Man of Steel, I mean, they also have their diehard supporters. And so, and I have a good time with Man of Steel, to be honest. I do like that movie. But I think I think it was time for a new Superman to take the scene, and so I'm glad. And that has nothing to do with the fact I really loved Henry Cavill in the role, but I think the studio let him down with everything that he was given after Man of Steel. Because 2013 was the last solo Superman movie, which is crazy to think about. 2013. Yeah. And so, like, what was DC doing with their, you know, it's Batman and Superman, it's the two most popular characters. Right. Why haven't they made another Superman movie? It's Man of Steel 2. No idea. And so I'm glad that James Gunn, who absolutely loves superheroes and comic books, is in charge of this universe. And I'm glad that he kicked everything off with a Superman movie like it should be. So there we go.
All right. Well, lead us into a little F1.
Yeah. So I also saw F1. And first, let me talk about the stuff that worked for me in this movie, because there is some stuff that worked for me in this movie. It's a Formula One movie, so the racing scenes have to work, right? For this to be a good experience, the racing scenes have to work. So good news for everybody that was thinking about seeing it for some cool racing. You'll definitely get some of that. Javier Bardem in this movie gave me quite a few laughs. He's probably my favorite performance in the movie, and he doesn't get a whole lot of screen time. But Javier is always so great to see up on the big screen, and so I do love him, and he did give a great performance in this movie. And as far as the stuff that really worked, I don't want to take the wind out of anybody's sails or your sails, but that was about it. Look, and here's the thing. I went in with decent, not insane expectations, but this movie was being marketed to me as the Top Gun of the ground. You even said that in one of the podcasts we did, maybe the last episode. And so I was expecting something akin to, or at least approaching the level of joy that I felt watching Top Gun Maverick, and it did not come close to that bar. Some stuff that I was lukewarm on in this movie before I get into the stuff that just flat out didn't work, but it's lukewarm is kind of how I would describe this movie. There's nothing that just stands out that's absolutely terrible about it, that I'm like, ooh, that was bad, I wish that wasn't in it. It was just kind of all the way through the movie, everything just fell a little flat for me. I mean, the performances outside of Javier, again, everybody just kind of fell flat. Brad plays Brad, and you know, I like Brad, so that was fine, but it was just fine. I was like, that's Brad being Brad, and there he is, and cool. But I didn't feel anything else. So that kind of performance works in something like Top Gun Maverick, because the movie is elevated by everything else, by the cinematography and the script and the emotional payoffs in the third act. But I didn't feel any of that in F1, unfortunately, and I really wanted to. I really wanted to like this movie a lot. Carrie Condon, who is in the movie, she's you've probably heard her voice in the trailer. She's the Irish chick, and she's I've actually become a a really big fan of her ever since I saw her in the Banshees of Inisherin. Also, side note, she voices Iron Man's Friday. So whenever he's talking to Friday,
right.
she's the voice. And so whenever you see her, you can kind of put those two together. So that's kind of cool. She was good in her role. She's an engineer for F1, and she's also kind of got this, I'm not going to give too much away, but this kind of a bit of a romantic thing going back and forth with Brad Pitt's character. And she's not afraid to kind of call him on his BS when she sees it. And, she was good in the role, just good. It was good. I mean, there's just nothing that's spectacular about this movie. I wasn't like super delighted by anything that I saw. I was just like, this is good stuff. It was one of those movies that I could see myself throwing on in the background maybe, but I don't have a desire to ever just like put it on and watch this movie again because I loved it so much. You know what I mean? So her performance was fine. It was nothing to write home about. Damson Idris, who is the young racer in the movie, was maybe the best like complete performance, because like I said, Javier has a very small, minimal role, I'll say, but Damson Idris is in it throughout the whole movie. He's kind of the co-star, and he probably has the best like kind of a standout performance in this one. I really didn't like his character when I wasn't supposed to like him, and I liked him a lot when the movie told me to. And so I guess that also speaks to his performance. Like I said, his performance was pretty good. It wasn't breaking, any kind of new ground. He did well in the movie, and I just think the script is what let him down. And so going into to my last point, the stuff that just didn't really work for me at all was the script. And I think a movie lives and dies by its screenplay. And so I think, and this one is just about as predictable as they come for me. And maybe it's just me. Maybe this is just reaffirming that I don't like most sports movies, because I'm not a big sports movie person. And so if you are, you'll probably really love this movie. I am not. But this script is in my opinion, I think it's kind of a step behind the audience at every turn, where a good script is usually a step ahead of the audience. You know what I mean? And it does its best to have some emotional payoffs. Like I could tell when the filmmakers were reaching, like, you should feel a lot right here in this moment. And outside of like maybe one racing sequence, I didn't feel too many emotions going through me while I was watching this movie. I was never on the edge of my seat. And it's supposed to be a fast-paced action racing movie, and I never felt like I was like sitting up like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen right here, because I kind of felt like I knew where everything was going. And again, going back to Brad Pitt and Carrie Condon's performance, I didn't buy too much into the romance they were trying to sell me on. The chemistry was just not, it was just blah. Maybe I'm just a cranky old bastard. Maybe I'm just one of those people who can't turn off his brain and just enjoy cars going fast on the big screen. But F1, unfortunately, is coming from a huge Brad Pitt fan. You can ask anybody in my family, and they'll tell you I'm a big Brad Pitt. I got his sword from Troy hanging over here on the wall. So, but F1 was not for me, and I can't see myself ever watching this movie again. But that said, don't let my negative reaction be the reason that you don't see this movie, right? Because we all have wildly different tastes. Again, I'm not a huge sport movie fan. This kind of follows that sports movie formula. But I would hate to ever discourage someone from seeing any movie in the theater ever, because I want movies to continue, and that industry needs all the help it can get. So go see F1, make up your own mind, and tell me why I'm wrong in the comments.
Yeah, what you just did was discourage me from going to see it. So I have no desire to go and watch this movie in the movie theater now. I will probably tune in when it comes out on streaming services, but
that's the thing. Like it felt like something that could just be on like Apple TV. Like, hey, Apple TV came out with an original movie. Let's check it out at home. And maybe if I had watched it at home, I would have enjoyed it a little more. But when you pay $30 or more to go see a movie in the theater, I wanted an experience like I had when I watched Top Gun Maverick. And I know that's ridiculously high expectations, but don't market the movie as Top Gun Maverick of the ground if if you're not going to deliver on that. And I'm sure that was media doing that, not the actual filmmaker. So, sorry everybody.
Yeah, that's a little unfortunate. I was not expecting that at all.
Me neither.
Only because it was advertised as the Top Gun of the ground.
And here's something.
It had Brad Pitt,
and it had Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
And here's something else too. I seem to be in the minority on this one. I have after I watched it, I have read some reviews, and people seem to be really positive about this movie. So, like I said, I might just be in the minority here. Go see it. Make up your own mind. Because I seem to be in the minority based on what audience reviews and critics reviews are saying. So maybe it's just not for me, but yeah, go check it out and tell me what you think in the comments.
So it could be a little bit of a hot take. I guess we'll wait and see.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you've seen F1, if you've been to the theater and went and saw it, leave a comment. Let us know what you think. If you think Books is right or if you think he's wrong, and that might help me. That might push me a little bit more to go see it in the theaters.
And I'm never above giving a movie a second chance. So if y'all give me if I missed something, let me know and I'll watch it again. But like I said, that first watch just kind of lukewarm for me.
Yeah. Huh. Well, that's disappointing. You know what's not lukewarm?
Captain America: Civil War.
I was waiting. Yes.
That was a good segue.
That is our segue right there. Professional podcasters. We wrote that script. It just took him a minute to remember it. No, not really. But yeah, that is our segue into our main topic. Just for all you non-Avenger watchers, or maybe first time, or not first time, but one-time Avenger watchers, like you saw Endgame because it was out and it was kind of the movie at the time. You saw Infinity War. You might have seen like the first Iron Man. Maybe you saw Civil War as well one time. For those that don't know, Civil War, the Avengers split, and they basically have to choose whether they're going to fight for Captain America's side and what he believes, or whether they're going to fight for Iron Man's side and what he believes. And we're going to go into kind of what both of those two sides are about. Believe it or not, we are on different sides of who we would join if we were an Avenger.
It's the yada yada Civil War, you might say.
You want to add to any of the Avengers, I guess maybe a recap or a summary for people who haven't seen it?
Yeah. So this is, and we almost hit the mark. This is our 12th episode. Captain America: Civil War was the 13th MCU movie. So we got as close as we could.
Yeah.
We just couldn't wait another week.
Yeah.
It's too fresh on the brain. You gotta talk about it right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, Civil War is, I think Civil War represents the MCU kind of in its prime. I mean, this was right, like I said in the intro, this is before Infinity War, before Endgame, before kind of the big climax of the first, I guess, four phases of the MCU. I can't remember if I think Civil War is the climax of Phase 3, and I think Phase 4 ends in Endgame. I might be mistaken on that. Y'all can correct me in the chat. But I think Civil War represents everything that I love about the MCU. And it's the culmination of all of the solo superhero movies that we'd seen up to that point. It kind of ties everything in a nice, well, not a neat bow, but some kind of bow, because the Avengers split down the middle by the time this movie's over. But yeah, so you've already had 2 solo Captain America movies, 3 solo Iron Man movies. Thor and Hulk aren't in this movie. They're mentioned, but they're not in this movie. But this movie is dealing directly with stuff that they were involved in the first Avengers movie and the second Avengers movie, Age of Ultron. And so this and then don't forget, this is still the third entry in the Captain America trilogy, third and final entry in the Captain America trilogy. So this is technically a Captain America movie, but it also basically serves as Avengers 2.5. We've had the first Avengers, we've had Age of Ultron, and then Civil War is also basically an Avengers movie. Through and through, and so it does so many things well, and that's why that's what's so great about it, is that we can still have these debates 10 years later about who was right in this, is because the movie does such a good job of explaining both sides of the disagreement. You understand just as much about Tony by the time this movie's over as you do about Cap, and this is a Captain America movie, and so that's an impressive thing to do. There's a reason why the Russo brothers got to direct Infinity War and Endgame, and it's because they did such a good job with the Winter Soldier and such a great job with Captain America Civil War. And so Kevin Feige said, yeah, you could do Infinity War and Endgame, you know what I mean? And so it's I think that's as much as the preamble that I have to this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I see it as an Avengers movie. I know it's not titled that way. It's a Captain America movie, but it has almost all of the Avengers in it. And so I still see it as an Avenger movie.
And it introduces 2 new Avengers that we'd never seen.
True, correct. And so we're gonna pick a side. Books is going to go first, and he's going to pick a side, kind of explain what that side is and why you're on that side.
All right. The only correct side in this argument is Team Captain America, and I will explain why. So the big conflict in this movie is based on the Sokovia Accords, all right? And so if you're familiar with the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you're not, then just pause the episode, go watch it, and come back, all right?
Yes, that will probably help a lot when we start talking.
Yeah. And then make sure you leave a like or whatever before you go, and then come back. Anyway.
Right. Don't just leave and never come back.
Right. But the big deal, the conflict in this movie stems from the Sokovia Accords, and the Sokovia Accords basically state that the Avengers would now have oversight, basically be controlled by a United Nations Council. Right? So all the governments of the world would kind of appoint their people, and the UN together would decide what the Avengers did. So that's the basic setup of the conflict. And I'm going to give you my argument. And so first of all, Tony wants, and just to give you the basic idea, Tony wants to sign the Accords. Iron Man wants to sign the Accords. Captain America does not want to sign the Accords. All right? Steve Rogers does not want to sign the Accords. So here's why I'm Team Cap. First point, the Sokovia Accords were not the kind of oversight that the Avengers needed. And here's why I think that. First of all, how does government oversight prevent collateral damage and innocent deaths from happening? Because that's the reason they give for these accords, is that there has been too much collateral damage. No one's taking accountability for their actions. People need to be put in check. You need government oversight. And my question again, how does government oversight prevent collateral damage and innocent deaths? Because the last I checked, in Avengers, when aliens invaded New York, the government sent a literal nuke to level the city. And so if I was in that room, I would ask Tony, did you forget that you almost died saving the entire island of Manhattan from the government? Because they didn't trust the Avengers to handle the job. And they said, better just write this off to checks and balances and send a nuke and just kill everything, including the humans and the aliens, and we'll get done with the job like that. And Iron Man had to save the day. Next, I mean, Cap has every right to distrust government establishments in this movie based on everything that we've seen building up to this movie. So in the Winter Soldier, Hydra infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. and the government. You know what I mean? Pierce was like the leader of S.H.I.E.L.D. and he was all the way at the top of the food chain in one of the most powerful agencies in the U.S., and he was a freaking Nazi. And so that shattered everything that Captain America thought, or Steve Rogers thought that he knew about the government, about who he could trust, about who he was and what he represents as Captain America. Holy crap. Nazis are ahead of the U.S. What am I doing wearing this mantle? How do I be the person to uphold the true values of this nation and fight for what I know is right and not what everyone else tells me is right? Next up, if I'm faced with the decision between trusting a council of government officials from around the world, each with their own agendas, or trusting the only human we've ever seen who is worthy to lift Mjolnir, Thor's hammer, I think I'm going to go with that guy.
We didn't know that at the time. You can't throw that in there because we didn't know that at the time.
That's fair. He does wiggle it in Avengers Age of Ultron, and I am convinced that he could have.
What it meant.
I'm convinced he could have picked it up at that point and just he did it out of humbleness that he didn't. That is a hilarious scene though. But still, I'm even not without seeing Endgame, I am trusting Steve Rogers, his moral compass, more than any council of government officials trying to come together and agree on something. Anyway, so I'll just say that I trust Steve Rogers more than basically anyone else in the MCU that I've seen. And this is a fictional universe, so it's not like, you know what I mean? Like we've seen governments that are controlled by bad people. It's just so I trust Steve Rogers. If I'm an Avenger and I have to back up somebody, I'm going to back up Steve Rogers because I trust his moral compass. I trust that he's going to be the guy to always do the right thing. And then lastly, and this kind of goes into your point about hindsight being 20/20, but basically everyone who signs the Accords ends up either disobeying them or joining Cap by the time Infinity War rolls around. So I'll put that there as well. My second big point is that Steve has every right to protect his brainwashed friend. And that goes into the second big conflict. So they're fighting over the Sokovia Accords, and they're also fighting over Winter Soldier / Bucky Barnes and what to do with him, right? Basically, everyone else is just fine with letting him die. And again, hopefully you've seen the movie at this point because we're talking spoilers. But it turns out it's revealed at the end of the movie that the Winter Soldier killed Tony Stark's parents, right?
Captain America's best friend, for those that don't know who the Winter Soldier is. Captain
America's best friend, Bucky Barnes, was captured by Hydra and brainwashed and made into
very, very Jason Bourne-esque in my opinion.
Right. And he was made into the Winter Soldier. And so what I have to say about that is Bucky is the victim in this movie. Bucky is he's a victim of Hydra. He was framed for the bombing of the UN meeting by Zemo, who's kind of the real villain of this movie. He had zero control over the horrible actions he committed because he was literally brainwashed by Hydra agents, by evil Nazis. And so again, that's Captain America's best friend from childhood. That's Steve's best friend. And so if your best friend or brother, that's basically the closest thing Steve has to a brother. If your brother's captured by evil Nazis and made to commit horrible crimes, wouldn't you go and try to save him from that terrible fate? No matter what other people are telling you, you know what I mean? If people want to put him down, but just like Luke Skywalker trying to save Darth Vader, there's a hint that maybe you could turn him back to the good side. And Darth Vader chose those actions. Bucky was brainwashed. So he had zero control over the fact that he was a horrible agent of evil. So
and when you say brainwashed, it's not like he was just like taught how to do it's like he was literally like when he hears these certain words, he can't control who he is, basically.
Right. Yeah. Like he's given a command and all of a sudden a switch turns and he's the Winter Soldier. He's not Bucky anymore. And so I think Steve has every right to protect his brainwashed best friend. And in Winter Soldier, it's established that Steve will do everything he can to save his friend. He tells him, "I'm with you to the end of the line," and Bucky's still alive, and so he wants to help him. And I think even if he was brainwashed and committed that UN bombing, that Steve would still try to help him. But it's, he wasn't, and he was framed for it. And once Steve found that out, I mean, he still would have tried to help him, but yeah. So Steve has every right to protect his brainwashed friend. My third big point is that in this movie, Steve isn't just protecting Bucky. He's trying to save the world from a potentially really huge threat. And that is the evil super soldier gang that they think that Zemo has created, right? Now, obviously, turns out that was just a big trap laid for Captain America and Tony to get in a fight, right? Zemo just wanted Captain America, Tony, and Bucky in the same room so he could reveal that Bucky killed his parents and let Iron Man take care of the rest of it. That was Zemo's plan. And it kind of worked, to be honest with you.
Definitely worked.
Yeah, it worked. But that's another point going towards, when they get to that cool, amazing fight at the airport, Steve isn't just fighting because he doesn't want to sign the Sokovia Accords or because he's trying to protect Bucky. He has to get past Iron Man so he can try to save the world. That's what's going on in his brain right now, or in that scene. And then kind of one of my last big points is that Tony's, and this is just these last points are just about Tony. Tony's guilty conscience is driving his actions. So, and we know Tony has always led with his emotions. That's not something that's new. He's always led with his emotions. His actions are most of the time, his actions are based on what emotion he's feeling at that time. And, he's the one that stepped in front of of Congress and said, to heck with you. I'm Iron Man. I can do what I want. You know what I mean? That's something that he did. He stepped up to the government and said, "You're not going to tell me what to do. I'm Iron Man. This is my tech. I can do whatever the heck I want." And that's always been Tony's reaction. And it's hilarious, and it's crazy because Steve has always been the complete opposite. Steve is a soldier, a literal soldier. He was ingrained in the military. You would think that Steve's first move was to say, "Hey guys, let's sign these accords and go with this government oversight because that's what we need." And you would think it'd be Tony's first reactions to say, "Heck no, I'm Tony Stark. I'm a billionaire. I can do whatever the heck I want. I'm Iron Man." And it's so well done and so natural, even that the way they present it, that they have opposite reactions to what you would expect. But like I said, Tony's always led with his emotions. But at this point in time in the MCU, he's got the weight of all of his mistakes on his shoulders. Ultron, his fault. He owns it in the movie. He says, "Ultron, my fault." That's literally a quote. That was the big thing. That's what happened to Sokovia, by the way, was Ultron. Ultron was the one that destroyed that city and killed all those people, and Tony takes responsibility for that. And so he has that on his shoulders. He's feeling guilty because at the beginning of the movie, a mom of a young man comes up to him and basically, morally slaps him in the face and says, My son died in Sokovia because of you. You're the murderer that killed him. And so Tony has been getting throughout the MCU and throughout this movie, Tony's emotions have been getting kind of beat to a pulp. And so I think Civil War is his breaking point. I think that all of that weight from all of those mistakes, all that guilt that he has is manifesting itself into an action by Tony using the Accords to keep himself in check. I think the Accords might be the kind of oversight that Tony needs to help ease his conscience. But it's not what Steve needs or what the Avengers needs as a whole, in my opinion, because Steve wants to be accountable. Steve keeps himself accountable, and I don't think Tony is mature enough to do that. What is he? And here's an example of this. So he's feeling insanely guilty about a mom coming up and saying, "You killed my teenage son. You did that, and so you should feel the guilt of that pain." And then what does he do? Like 30 minutes later in the movie, he recruits a 15-year-old to go fight a freaking Nazi soldier, in his mind. And so I'm like, Tony, what are you doing, man? And I love Spider-Man. Spider-Man in this movie is so much fun. And that scene that they have in the bedroom with him and Tony is so cool. And it's one of my favorite introductions to Spider-Man ever. I mean, I absolutely love Tom Holland in Civil War. It's so great. And his little speech about when you can do the things that I can do and you don't, and then the bad things happen, they happen because of you. That's such a great rephrasing of with great power comes great responsibility. That's what that boils down to, and that's Spider-Man's whole shtick. And so I get chills even thinking about that scene. But Tony recruited a 15-year-old. His actions. I don't think his actions make sense. I think he's leading with his emotions. And then when we get to the very end of the film, and it's revealed that Bucky killed his parents, I understand. I understand Tony having an emotional reaction to that. Who wouldn't? I understand Tony maybe even wanting to I understand Tony wanting to kill the Winter Soldier, because that's what he wants to do. Make no mistake about it. He's trying to kill Bucky in that scene. Yeah. He wants to kill him. And so Steve is put in a place where he can either defend his best friend and keep him from dying at the hands of Tony, or let Tony kill his best friend in front of him. And that's almost as traumatizing as Tony seeing the recording of his parents dying. You know what I mean? So I understand Tony having a gut reaction and wanting to kill the Winter Soldier, because if you see a video of someone killing your mom, that's probably going to be your first reaction, and it's completely understandable. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that it's the right decision. That doesn't mean that it's correct for Tony to kill Bucky. You know what I mean? Steve tries to tell him, "Hey, it wasn't him, Tony. He was brainwashed." And the one thing that I will blame Steve for in this movie is that he knew that the Winter Soldier killed Tony's parents, and he kept that information from Tony. And I don't know what that solves. I don't know why. Like, yes, maybe he should have told him, but I don't know what that would have solved if he sat Tony down and said, "Hey, that guy that you really don't like over there? Guess what? He also killed your parents, but just take it easy." So I don't know what that would have solved, but I do understand that Tony took it as a betrayal from Steve, and I do understand Tony wanting to kill the Winter Soldier after seeing that video of him killing his parents as a brainwashed Nazi soldier. But still, but the real villain, the people what killed Tony's parents was Hydra. You know what I mean? They used Bucky as an instrument to do that. but Bucky's a victim. So again, I'll kind of recap my 4 main points. They are: the Sokovia Accords were not the kind of oversight the Avengers needed. Steve has every right to protect his brainwashed friend. Steve isn't just protecting Bucky, he's trying to save the world from evil Nazi soldiers. And Tony's guilty conscience is driving his actions. So that's my reason for why I think Captain America is in the right. And I just love debating this movie so much because the two sides get so into it, and it's a lot of fun, and I love defending Captain America, and I will continue defending Captain America until the day that I die. But give me your take. Bring it on.
Wow, that was just, ladies and gentlemen, a bunch of nonsense is what this guy's saying. All right, if you haven't figured out by now, I'm Team Iron Man, 110%. And I also came up with another little Sokovian Accords analogy. Remember in the Incredibles when the guy tries to commit suicide and Mr. Incredible saves him, and he gets mad because Mr. Incredible saved him, and so they take away like all the superheroes. Like superheroes are no more because they're more bad than they are good. That's kind of what the Sokovian Accords reminds me of. Like the UN is trying to like control the superheroes from doing bad things. Because the superheroes have done bad things, like you said in the first Avengers, basically the city of New York is, and they show clips of it when they're talking about the Sokovian Accords in the movie. Now, obviously, you're trying to fight an alien invasion. Yeah, there's going to be some damage, but specifically, here's why I side with Iron Man the most. I think some of the Avengers needed the Sokovian Accords. For example, the Hulk, Thor, Wanda. I think those 3 are close to gods and have Thor is a god, but have super powerful powers, for lack of a better term, and they need to be held in check. Otherwise, bad things will happen. As bad things have happened. Wanda obviously not loses control of her powers, but kind of misuses her powers a little bit at the start of Civil War. Thor obviously is a god and just kind of does what he wants, and then the Hulk is just an angry green monster that wreaks havoc everywhere he goes. So talk about leading with your emotions. That's the Incredible Hulk. But I think the Sokovian Accords are needed for those Avengers. Now, I also, going back to some of your points, I was kind of writing some stuff down. Vision in this movie, Vision is super wise. I love Vision. But he makes a great point in this movie, and I kind of wrote it down in Cliff Notes terms, but he said strength, the Avengers are strength, and strength invites challenge, and then challenge invites conflict, meaning somebody is wanting to overpower this strength, whether it's Hydra, whether it's some aliens, whether it's Thanos. Somebody is trying to beat the Avengers because they're the best, and that goes with sports teams, that goes with movies, that goes with book. Like, you're trying to write a better book, you're trying to produce a better movie, you're trying to be a better basketball player. These people are trying to overtake the power of the world. So strength, Vision says, strength invites challenge, challenge invites conflict, and conflict breeds catastrophe. And so he was saying that in reference to when Tony Stark announced that he was Iron Man. Since then, like, a lot more people have come forward saying, hey, I got a lot of superpowers too, and let's all team up together. And S.H.I.E.L.D. comes into play and all that. But he's saying kind of that oversight. Like maybe we do need to be put in check because there's a bunch of us now, and some of us are a little more powerful than others, and some of us don't really know how to control our emotions like others do. And so maybe the Sokovian Accords are a good idea. That's another reason I side with Captain America, because Vision is on his side, and Vision
Iron Man?
is I mean Iron Man. And Vision is super wise and cool, calm, and collected. So
that's true. I don't know what to do with Vision when it comes to my argument. He's a tough nut to crack when it comes to Team Cap. But yeah, go ahead.
And then another this goes more into not necessarily which side to choose, but which I guess superhero to trust more. I would trust Iron Man more. You said you would trust Captain America more because of his morals, and I get all that. But I think Steve, Captain America, will do whatever he can to save his friend, which rightfully so. I can understand that to 100%. Like, save his brother, really. On the flip side, Iron Man, and this goes into your Captain America can lift the hammer. Iron Man saves the world, not just his friend. For all you people who haven't seen Endgame, go watch it. Because Iron Man literally saves the world. And he does it more than once. He does it in the first Avengers, and now he's doing it in the last Avengers. So he's doing more than just protecting him. I think Iron Man gets a bad rap because of he does have some arrogance to him. He does have a little bit of attitude and ego to him. But I also think he gets a bad rap because he's also the Avenger that we turn to when we need something miraculous to happen, like the snap. And so I would side with Iron Man. Another thing is I think Captain America is stuck in his ways a little bit. I think he's a little stubborn. And that goes back. It kind of makes me think of like, you know how like old people when they're old, like you're not going to change their mind on anything, like because this is how we've always done it. It worked when I was a kid. It's going to work now. Like, well, Captain America, listen up, buddy. This ain't World War II anymore. Okay, you're not the only guy around. We're a big team now. We need to come to an agreement. And I think Tony grows. I think he learns. I agree that he's kind of in this movie at least. And maybe in other movies, but in this movie at least, he is being led by his conscience, by his guilty conscience. I'm gonna throw that back at you and say I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing that he's doing that because he could have very easily ignored that mom at the very start of the movie and said, "Listen, lady, I'm Tony Stark. Like, I don't even know who you are. Doesn't matter. I'm a billionaire. I'm going to go back to my mansion. I'm going to do what I want and leave me alone." But he doesn't. He shares that story with the rest of the Avengers and tells them, listen, we've made some mistakes. Like, we're kind of out of control right now. Somebody needs to hold us in check because we clearly can't hold ourselves in check. And that goes into the Congress thing that you mentioned. That was pretty early on, and I think, like I said, Tony grows and he learns from his mistakes more than any character in the Avengers, in my opinion. So I think Tony is very accountable of his actions. Like he says in the movie, like he stopped making weapons because he knew they were just mass destruction, and he shut it down, and it almost got him killed in Iron Man. And so I think he's very accountable of his actions, and I would trust him probably more than I would trust Captain America because of that. My last point is the Secretary of State is the one that's presenting the Sokovian Accords to the Avengers. He's the one that comes and he kind of tells them, listen, you need to sign this or you need to retire. And that's a literal quote. He tells Black Widow asks, and what happens if we don't sign it? He says, you retire. And so it's kind of a, you better do this or else type thing. And he has great points. He presents great points during the meeting. He says, if I were to he's talking to Captain America, because obviously Captain America doesn't want to do it. And so Captain America says something, and the Secretary of State says, do you even know where Thor and Mark, who is not
Banner,
Mark, Banner, who is the Hulk? He says, do you even know where Thor and the Hulk are right now? And that's a great point. Like, that goes back to my very first point, that the Sokovian Accords, yes, it is needed for control over some of these superheroes, because Captain America didn't respond because he didn't know where Thor and Hulk were, and those are probably the two most destructive Avengers there are, at least at that point in the Avengers. But that's a great point. And then he goes on to say, if I was to misplace some nuclear warheads, you'd better believe that there would be consequences. And he's exactly right. I don't think that the Avengers are above. Obviously, they are in terms of ability and superpower, and I think they should have a say in how they go about fighting Hydra and how they go about fighting alien attacks and things like that, because they are the ones that are kind of the front lines, you would say. If you're going to be on the front lines, I think you should have a say in how you attack what you're about to attack. But that goes to, I mean, the Secretary of State makes a great point. They don't even know where the Hulk and Thor are at that moment in time. And like I said, those are two of the most destructive Avengers there are. So I think, like I said, I'm Team Iron Man to an extent, because I think, yes, they need to be reined in a little bit, because clearly what they're doing is causing mass destruction, and that's not good. When you're fighting for good and innocent people are dying, even though you're fighting for good, then how good are you really doing? And there's somebody says something like that in the movie with, if innocent people are dying, what, are we really doing what's best, or something like that? So, but yeah, I think that Team Iron Man, which is, for those that haven't seen, and you can add to this, Team Iron Man is Spider-Man, Black Panther, Vision, and Black Widow at the start. Black Widow kind of lets Captain America and Bucky go, but and then Captain America their team is Ant-Man, who makes a great appearance.
Yeah.
Ant-Man,
Hawkeye.
Let's see. Sam
and Wanda.
And Wanda, yeah. And so, anyway, that kind of little tangent there, but yeah, I think I'm a huge Iron Man fan, and that's probably why I'm a bigger supporter for Team Iron Man, just because I like Iron Man more. I think even though Captain America is kind of, the first Avenger, I think that Iron Man is the leader of the Avengers. That could be up for debate probably too at some point, but I think Iron Man is the one who leads. He's kind of the father figure, even though Captain America is obviously much older in normal time. I think Tony is kind of the father figure. I think he kind of sees, for sure, for Spider-Man, he's a father figure. Right. But even for Wanda, and even maybe sometimes for Captain America, I think he wants what's best for his children, for his Avengers, and also for the world. And I would trust his opinion more than I would trust Captain America's. Another reason being, Captain America has you mentioned how, and this is 100% true, I agree with this, how there's 117 countries in the UN in this movie, at least. I don't know if that's real life or not, but in this movie, there's 117 countries wanting to sign this Sokovian Accords. And Captain America has a personal bias to not sign the Sokovian Accords. And I think that would factor into my decision as well. I would want to know, okay, are you not signing this because you're afraid your friend's going to die? Which, rightfully so, I wouldn't want to sign it either. Or are you not signing this because you're afraid you're not going to be able to help people when they need help, or you're going to be somewhere else when somewhere else needs more help? Why? I would want to ask Captain America, why are you so against it? Because as an Avenger sitting in the room, I would think, okay, but your best friend is kind of the reason a little bit for this, and yet you don't want to sign it. So is there any is that the reason why, or is there another reason? So anyway, I would be Team Iron Man. I am Team Iron Man for all those reasons out there. But let us know in the chat. Let us know in the comments. If you haven't seen the movie, go and see it. It's on Disney Plus, and so you can go watch it on Disney Plus. You don't necessarily have to see all the other movies before you watch it. It helps. It definitely makes it more fun to watch Civil War, but you don't necessarily have to see it to know what's going on, as long as you kind of get the gist. But let us know in the comments whether you're Team Captain America, Team Iron Man, and why as well. So there's my little spiel.
Very nice. That was a good. And that's, again, because this movie presents both sides so well. And I think that might be the point, is that in a way, Tony and Cap both are justified for thinking what they think. And so you're meant to be able to look at both of them and say, I know exactly why Tony's doing that, and I might agree with him, and I know why Cap's doing that, and I might agree with him as well. And it's just, it kind of comes down to who you agree with more. You know what I mean? Who's more right. Oh, it's so much fun to watch, and that airport sequence is maybe one of my favorite fight scenes in any superhero movie. It's a fun time.
Well, and I enjoy the very, I guess, not subtle, but the very small pieces that are I don't know what I'm trying to say, but for example of what I'm trying to say is like Ant-Man. Like, Ant-Man is some random dude that lives in a van pretty much, and when they open the van door, he's like halfway asleep, and Tony Stark doesn't even know who he is at the end of the I guess not the end, but he asks him even like, who are you? And yet he's one of he has a vital role. Like, when he gets really big, and it kind of like nobody knew he could do that at the moment, and then he does it. Like, that's kind of maybe just a fun little addition to the movie. And then like Spider-Man showing up and him like introducing himself to Captain America like mid-fight and things like that. Like, I don't know, that airport scene is just it's pretty good. So
it is great. It's pretty bonkers. What was I going to say? Oh, one thing that I will say for Cap one more time, and then against Cap. I'll kind of play devil's advocate here just for a second. But the first thing that's kind of against the Cap thing is Black Widow. I think is, if I was in this movie, I think I would be maybe closer to Black Widow, because she is playing both sides, which is what she's a super spy, so she knows how to play both sides.
Yeah.
But she tells Cap in one scene of the movie that staying together is more important than how we stay together. And I think Cap hears that. I think he internalizes it. And right after that scene, he even goes and talks to Tony, and he almost signs the Accords. He's talking with Tony. He says, "Look, there's got to be certain stipulations. If I sign these Accords, you know what I mean? Like, there's got to be this, and this, kind of lays it out for Tony, and Tony tells him, yeah, of course, yada, yada, yada. And then Tony mentions Wanda being basically held hostage at the Avengers site, at the compound, the Avengers compound, and then that's kind of what sets Steve back on the, Tony, what are you doing type of thing. But I do think Black Widow has a point, because even if they would have signed, then here's what even if Cap would have signed, if every single Avenger would have signed, when Infinity War rolls around, I don't know. Like, you see at the beginning of Infinity War, or maybe midway, but when Cap shows up to go talk to Rhodey, right? Who signed the Accords, is Team Iron Man. When Cap shows up, Thunderbolt Ross is on the monitor. He says, "Rhodey, arrest that guy right now. He didn't sign the. He's basically a felon. You know what I mean? He's a fugitive. You need to arrest him." And Rhodey says, "Yeah, okay," and turns off the mic and says, "It's good to see you, Cap," because there's a freaking, here comes Thanos. But
bigger issue.
Yeah, right, bigger issue than the Sokovia Accords. But yeah, it's a great movie. There's so many things to go back and forth on, and
I want to read. Yeah, for sure. Let us know in the chat. But I do want to read a quote from Iron Man from this movie, just because, once again, I think this shows you who Iron Man truly is, even though he gets a bad rap because of his ego, and because of his attitude a little bit, and his charisma, just kind of the way he acts. But in deep down, I think he knows what's best, and I think he's willing to do what's best for the greater good. So he's in this movie, he's talking to all the Avengers, and at one point, they're sitting around the table talking about whether to assign it or not, and he says, "We need to be put in check. Whatever form that takes, I'm game. If we can't accept limitations, we're boundless, and we're no better than the bad guys. We need to be held accountable. If we don't do it now, it's going to be done to us later." And I love how he says, we. He doesn't say, like, "Wanda, you're the one that just did all this. Like, you need to be held in check." Or, like, "Where's Thor? Thor needs to be held in check. The Hulk needs to be held in check because they're dangerous. We don't even know where they're at." Like, he says we, because he knows, like you said, he's going off his guilty conscience. And he knows he is guilty of a lot of things, including death of innocent people. And that goes back to the very first Iron Man. Like, he's lived with this, and he's learned from this probably more than any other superhero, because he's been through it before. He's been through, all right, I've got weapons of mass destruction in Stark Industries. I'm going to shut those down because they're killing people. All right, now in Civil War, I've got weapons of mass destruction in the Avengers. We need to be held in check so that more innocent people don't die. So anyway, I just wanted to read that quote because I love Iron Man.
Yeah, and one thing I'll say as a Team Cap person is that when Cap hears that, and it goes back to how great this movie is, but when Cap hears that, he views that as passing the buck. He views that as
shifting the blame, I think, is the term he uses.
Yeah, shifting the blame. We'll let the government take responsibility for what we do. That way we don't have to. It's on their shoulders, not ours, if we sign these papers, is how Cap views that. But since we're busting out quotes, I do have one here. And this and this, I think, and this isn't even a quote that Steve says. It's a quote that Carter, what's her name? Peggy Carter's niece that Steve ends up liking in this movie.
The funeral.
Yeah, she does the funeral. Anyway, it's a quote that she says at the funeral, basically to Captain America, even though she's speaking in public. She's looking right at him and saying it. And I think it's actually, she's quoting her aunt, so this might be an actual quote from Peggy too that she's quoting, but it goes like this: "Compromise where you can, and where you can't, don't. Even if everyone is telling you that something wrong is something right, even if the whole world is telling you to move. It is your duty to plant yourself like a tree, look them in the eye, and say, no, you move. And I think that definitely encapsulates a lot of what Cap is feeling here. If he tells Tony, like, when I see a situation pointed sideways, I can't look away. Something to effect of something like that. And he even says, sometimes I wish I could. And Tony looks him right in the eye and says, no, you don't. He says, no, I don't actually.
It's such a good movie, man.
It is. And so Tony, I mean, they know each other so well at this point of their career as Avengers that it's like they're going back and forth. It's kind of like, I don't know what to compare it to other than like Anakin and Obi-Wan. They know each other's moves. They know each other's moves so well that they can counter everything that's being thrown at each other. And so
Tony Stark even says that in the movie. Like Captain America, somebody says, Tony, you're being like very non-talkative right now, which is unlike you. And Captain America's like, it's because he's already made up his mind. Tony Stark goes, oh, you know me so well. It's so good. It's such a great movie. The Avenger. If you're not an Avengers fan, or if you haven't watched them, like, and I mean this in all seriousness, like, this is the Star Wars of this generation. Like, in 30 years, like, we're gonna be just like people from like our parents still talk about Star Wars and they remember when it came out, and there's amusement parks and there's all kinds of stuff about it. Like, I think the Avengers are gonna be like that. Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, the Hulk, like they're all gonna be remembered for a really long time, because these movies are so great, and the Russo brothers did such a good job with the like separate movies to explain each character and the timeline and everything that went along with it. I could rewatch these movies over and over and over.
And there's never been anything, and there's never been really anything in the history of movies like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To where there's all these separate movies that end up building to these Avengers movies that are these huge, epic culminations of all these things that we've seen take place everywhere else. You know what I mean? It's almost like an extended like TV show, like you said, back in our like second episode or something. But but it is like a big TV show, but you're getting these huge movies out of it, and then it culminates in even bigger movies and Avengers stuff. And so it's a pretty cool thing what the MCU has done. And it's nice to go back to to my favorite era of the MCU and relive some of that every once in a while, because I haven't been too hot on everything since Endgame. There's been some stuff that I have not been a big fan of, and so it's nice to go back and relive the Infinity Saga, I think is as it's now known.
The good old days.
The good old days. It's a good time. Back in 2016.
No, I don't think I've watched a Marvel thing since Endgame. Like, Iron Man's not in it. I think I'm out. Like, sorry about it. Iron Man's not in it, and Captain America retired. Like, why are we watching Avengers anymore? They're both gone.
I think Marvel's trying to answer that question right now. Like, why are we making these movies? Nobody cares.
It's good. So go watch if you haven't watched. Like we said, Captain America: Civil War is the name of the movie. So go check it out. I would watch at least the first Avengers. What else would you watch before Civil War?
Well, like I said, this is the third movie in the Captain America trilogy. So if you feel like going back and watching the first Avenger, you can do that. But I would at least watch the Winter Soldier, because that's going to give you a lot of information about. That's going to give you a lot of information about Bucky, about him and Steve's friendship, about why he's psycho Winter Soldier guy,
right?
And why, and also why Steve distrusts the government so much. A lot of that is revealed in Winter Soldier. So I would at least watch the Winter Soldier before you watch Civil War. I would do that too. And the Winter Soldier is the second Captain America movie, basically. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's not just. It's
Captain
America: The Winter Soldier.
Yeah, maybe the two essential that I would say would be Winter Soldier and Avengers Age of Ultron, the second one, because that's going to give you everything with Sokovia, and that's a big deal here.
Right.
They're called the Sokovia Accords. So I would watch Age of Ultron and the Winter Soldier as well.
Yeah, and I think those might be that might be the order. Like it was, I think, the Winter Soldier and then Age of Ultron, or maybe the other way around, and then the next one was Civil War. Like that's kind of how they came out, maybe. But
yeah, I think that makes sense.
Could be wrong on that. All right, well. Like we said, let us know in the comments. Are you Team Captain America or are you Team Iron Man? Do you value loyalty to family and friends, or do you value accountability and the greater good? That's a hard question to answer because I value all of those things. But let us know in the comments.
I value freedom.
I value America. Go back to the last episode and listen to that one. Listen to a little Toby Keith, courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue, and you'll be on Team Captain America, no doubt about it.
Oh, man.
So,
right.
Anyway, if you're an Apple Podcast listener, yadayadapods@gmail.com if you want to shoot us over a comment. If you can't comment, if you're on Spotify, drop a comment, any comment. Hey, great job, guys. Hey, terrible episode, guys. Just say something.
Anything will do.
Yeah.
We might even shout you out.
Yeah, we've got some reoccurring commenters, and we usually shout them out. So if we get some new ones out there, we'll give you a little shout. And also, anything you want us to talk about. Like we said, sports are a little boring right now. Movies never get boring. There's always movies to talk about. But leave us a comment. We've gotten a couple before, and we've put them in our bank. So if we get a couple more, we might have to just go ahead and pull one out and go with it. So thanks for listening. This is Yada Yada episode 12, The Civil War.